I wasn't around for, the battles that my grandmother and my mother fought in the 60s and 70s. I wasn't around to fight for maternity leave and equal pay and, even things like the 19th Amendment. I've always taken things like that for granted. I've lived my entire life in North Carolina having these rights and never really gave it a second thought until now. It's 2011 and it seems like the Republican leadership has just been rolling back women's rights in the General Assembly. We're angry, we're a little shocked, but we are turning that anger into action. And we're not afraid to fight the women's movement all over again.
Lillian Exum Clement was a real heroine for me. She was a real role model. She was a difference maker.
Lillian Exum Clement was the first woman legislator before women could vote.
A woman who ran her own business in the 1920s at a time when women were not supposed to do anything of the sort. And she blazed the trail. So since 1920, we've been doing this work on women's rights, work on ERA, work on getting women the right to vote. And interestingly, in the number of years that it's taken since 1920 to get us to this place, we are seeing things go backwards in a matter of months.
There's a lot that needs to be done still, and that's why this legislature has been such a heartbreak to me, because they have tried their very best to undo every woman's rights that we worked so hard to get. And we have worked all of my life, from the time I was grown on, to make sure that women had the right to vote, that they knew to register to vote, that they went to vote, and hopefully that they voted right to make things better.
It was such a cruel, insensitive session.
I think that women have a big axe to grind with this new Republican leadership. The leadership has done virtually nothing to help women, and it set women back. And a lot of attention has been paid to the abortion issue, but let's face it, the vast majority of women don't have abortions. But let's talk about what they do have. They have children, and child care subsidies were cut. The vast majority of teachers in our public schools and teachers' assistants are women. Their jobs were cut. A lot of low-wage state employees, their jobs were eliminated. Those were women. We cut back on a lot of Medicaid. More Medicaid recipients are women.
To lose what we lost says to me that we can lose even more, and if we don't do something and do something now.
This was a very, very bad session for women, and their voices simply were ignored.
Really, the GOP has declared war on women. They cannot understand that what they're doing is irreparable damage to their children and grandchildren.
I'm here to tell you, my friends, that decisions are different when women are at the table. We think differently and feel differently and prioritize differently.
Women are powerful decision makers, and they don't come to those decisions very lightly. I can't think of having a legislature with fewer women, because then you will have less of the most progressive types of issues and important issues addressed.
The Republican redistricting plan was another assault on women. More women were put in a double bunking situation, which means either they were put with another Democrat or they were put in with a Republican, than we've ever seen.
As drawn, this map would result in a number of talented Democratic women, many of whom have reached high leadership positions, being eliminated.
There are 6 women who serve in the Senate. 3 of us have been double bunked.
We're losing half of the women who represent us in the state.
So we're going to lose the presence, first of all, which will be, I think, very important. We'll lose the presence of women in the General Assembly because of that.
And these women have been absolutely stalwart. They have stood up when it was fearful to stand up. They have been very succinct in what they have said, and they have been right. And they have been punished big time for it.
Certainly I found out this year it's like my grandmother's expression that a whistling woman and a crowing hen never come to any good end.
Linda Carew, who was one of the most powerful women and one of the most effective women, she does not have anything of her district. I mean, it's totally destroyed.
There was no need to draw it in such a way that Deborah Ross and Greer Martin are in the same district. Jennifer Weiss's district, they came down and snaked out and went into her neighborhood, split a precinct, and just to put her in a Republican district.
In Asheville, we had 2 strong Democratic women targeted and double bunked.
They have put Pricey Harrison right on top of Maggie Jeffers, and it's like that all across the state.
Why target women in the state of North Carolina who have been great leaders who've helped this state to become what it is?
I believe it was intentional. I believe that women have been fighting very hard, and people are listening to us, and people are inclined to believe us when we make points about the direction that the state's going and all the programs that are cut that hurt women and families. And I think it was intentional to try to make it so that there would be fewer women running in competitive races.
And with one fell swoop, these folks really essentially targeted us to just wipe us out.
But I do think that women can be tough. I think that may be something that we're learning, is how to be tough.
If the Republicans' goal was to marginalize women by taking away our rights to health care and to make decisions for our own bodies and taking away our voices in the General Assembly, they have done just the opposite here in North Carolina.
I think it's going to inspire people to work.
We're not going to have to convince women to come out and vote. We're not going to have to convince women to come out and organize.
Sometimes your rights have to be challenged in order for you to step up to the plate.
We have to all come forward, all ages, every single person. If you're in a nursing home and have your mind and you can lift your right hand or your left hand and dial, you can make calls.
They're going to want to make phone calls. They're going to want to canvass. They're going to want to tell their friends. They're going to want to host house parties.
We've got the numbers to make a difference. We just have to do the work.
They're going to do everything in their power to vote every single state legislator that voted against women's rights and against public education to vote them out of office.
We can't take this. We cannot let backwards thinking take us backwards. We're going to go forward.
The future of this great state cannot nor will it be determined by a group of folks who represent the fringe of North Carolina's public policy decision making.
We cannot be complacent. We cannot take for granted that women have come a long way and now we're done. We are not done.
Everybody needs to know what's happening.
Work with us, stand together, stand tall, reorganize, re-energize. Know that we have less than a year to do the work that must be done to turn North Carolina blue.
Women do have the power.
Women are energized, we are empowered, and we are ready to go in 2012.